What's your name and what'd you do?
What's going on, man? My name is Eric Emry. I got a top 4 with the homies at this Case event in Birmingham the other day. I played Maliss Fiendsmith. Before the event, I played it like twice at locals. So just a real quick disclaimer, I'm not the guy to come to for like deck building advice or like spreadsheet stuff for lists. That would be Clay. He's got much more seniority by comparison with these cards. I kind of just made up siding patterns and like lines as I went, but we got away with it. We got top 4 at the Case event. Quick shout outs to Patty for letting me borrow his Malice core. Shout outs to Clay for the deck idea and for driving, and shout outs to Jordan and Caleb behind the camera for riding. Everybody got top 8 that went, and me, Clay, and Jordan got top 4. It was a pretty good turnout. And yeah, man, let's get to the list. There's 40 cards. I played the Dot, of course, 3 Rabbit, 3 Mouse, 2 Cat, 3 Field Spell, Terraforming Sark. I sided this out going second a lot early, but then I stopped doing that because I don't like bricking. Like I said, I made up siding patterns as I went and just kind of took out shit that I didn't think I'd miss that much.
How many times did you draw this card?
3 or 4 times. I drew Paradise almost every game. That card was glued to my hand because of course it was. It's not as bad to open that card if you play, because you like discard as you end your like turn and build your end board with like Griffin and Bow and stuff, but obviously you're not comboing if your opponent's like list is good, so it never felt good to open that card. Of course, 1 of each trap. These cards are all gross. I don't know what they were thinking with this card specifically when they printed it. If this card specifically resolves, you probably should not lose because it's follow-up and non-targeting removal, but they're all broken. These cards are gross. That's it for the Malice cards. And then, of course, we played Fiendsmith stuff, so 3 Engraver, Lacrima, Lurie, Double Tracked, and this card. Like I said, I drew this card like every other game. Every single match, I opened it at least 1 time. It was getting a little exhausting, to be honest. But, I mean, we got there. It's fine. That's it for the engine. The rest of the deck was non-engine. We played 3 Ash, 3 Valor, 3 Bestials. Clay played 4, which was probably way better. I just didn't have a 3rd Jerusalem on me, and I didn't want to play Baldrake.
That was my fault.
Oh, you're all good, man. I'm chilling. Obviously, these cards are crazy. It ended up working out, of course. I only played against like 2 people that had Fiendsmith cards in their deck, and I played against Ryziel twice. But I drew this card like 4 times, which those were auto wins. You're probably supposed to win if you see this card. In my opinion, it should not be legal anymore. Mag was broken the whole event, even against decks where it theoretically wasn't supposed to be a blowout card because it just gives you another body. 3 Imperm, 2 Talents, and Call By. So going second, every game, this, Dot, Paradise, these would always come out, and then if I sided more than 3, it was like Sark and like these as well would also come out. But these came out every game going second, and then these would come back in going first every time. Not always, just because I might want like a Solemn to be this instead. But that's it for the main deck.
What was the count?
40. Also, these are different sleeve colors because I put all my stuff up, and he just lent me his stuff so I could do the profile with it. For the extra deck, I played Requiem, Moon, Sequence, Desiree, Necroquip, and Kaiser for the Fiendsmith stuff. I don't think any of this needs to be explained. These cards are gross. The Fiendsmith cards give you game into Lancia is kind of the idea, and also they give you more game into Nibiru, which is a card you don't struggle with too much if you know the lines, but I, of course, am not familiar with them, or as familiar as other people. I, of course, know how to play against the deck, because I test against it all the time, but it's different when you're actually picking up the cards and piloting them. So this card was a hard carry. It gets impermed a lot, but that's just kind of the trade-off. Link Decoder, Haggard, SP, and then the big thing I did different than Clay. Clay played Access Code. I played, this was Splash Mage in my deck list. The idea behind this is when I started testing early, when I first picked the deck up last Friday, I realized if you open like Fiendsmith Engine plus explicitly Field Spell and like no other bodies or like just hand traps you want to theoretically keep in your hand, you have to pick between ending on like this card and like not much else, like maybe SP, or going for the Bow Griffin board and like playing hard into Nibiru. But if you play Splash Mage, which it didn't end up coming up this event, but in testing it definitely did, you can make this, and then you can do the Mage line with the field spell, and you can end on Cryptor on field plus CO6 plus Binder and Graveyard, which usually is just as good as the Bow Griffin board. You're not like flooding them, but you still have like multiple forms of chainable removal and stuff. So that was the reason I played Mage over this card. Access Code, I did miss like one game, but I mean with Cryptor in the extra deck, and if you're playing anyway, you're probably fine. Like you usually shouldn't need this card to game your opponent even without even post side when this isn't in your deck. But that's of course my opinion. Clay would be the person to ask like a definitive answer on whether or not this is like needed in a big event, because he's played in a bigger event and I have not. And then for the rest of the extra deck, it was the Malice Links, Bow, and Griffin. This card should be banned, probably. This will probably get this card banned.
This card is a problem.
This card is way too strong. Really cool card though. I like the interactions it provides to the format, but being able to like Reborn Griffin and then have like a pop on your opponent's turn and like Saryuja on turn 3 is a bit much for one card to be doing when it's this generic. But that's it for the extra deck, and then the side was fine. I played three Owl. I didn't main deck this card. The only reason I didn't main deck this was because I just wanted to have cards that were good whether or not I lost the roll or won the roll. And that was explicitly just because I was playing a deck I was unfamiliar with. If I had played like Ryziel or like the Cashmint deck, I would have just mained this and been fine with it. But it worked out. The one thing I will say about the main deck, other than Fua not being in it, is I wish I'd played Droplet over like Effect Veiler. That's like the one thing. Droplet would have been pretty cool. I only played against like one Mitsurugi Ryziel player, and I just kind of hand-trapped them to death, so I got away with not having that card in my deck. But in theory, that card is really good because that deck exists. But 3 Fua, 3 Nib, and 3 Lancia. So like these 9 would come in every Malice matchup, and then like these would come in like every Ryziel matchup.
How did Nib do for you?
I resolved it twice. It was fine. It's Nib. If the card resolves, it's usually like it's either going to end their turn or their board's going to be awful. But it's got the same problem it's had for about a year and a half, where like if it's the only hand trap in your hand, you lose because it's never good enough by itself. And then the rest of the deck was the 6 Solemns. These are borderline mandatory in my opinion. They're so broken. Strike specifically should end your opponent's turn unless their hand is ridiculous. Like if their hand's like Engraver plus like full Ryziel combo or something, they won't pass to this, but most of the time this with any amount of end board should be good enough. Judgment also just negates breakers and like also can negate some. These cards are gross. They're really, really strong. That's the list though, man. Like I said, I just kind of picked the deck up last minute because I wanted to play something different. And then the homies were like, yeah, we have a case event, you want to come? And I was like, bet. And that's kind of the long story short of it. But again, shout outs to Caleb behind the camera. He also rode with us. Clay for driving, giving the deck idea, and then Patty for lending me cards. And that's about it, man.
Cool. Congrats on the top.